Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Thursday, 28th of December, almost to the end of the year. So I thought today we would go over kind of why we have to follow a certain process when we're diagnosing engines, when we're trying to get into business. I mean, there's a process, steps that you have to take, right? And it never fails that somebody, even me, tries to sidestep a step at times because they're trying to get to the end faster. And what ends up happening? You're right. You're going to repeat it because you didn't do the steps. All right, so stay tuned. So welcome back. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm old enough. I've sidestepped steps a lot of times and ended up costing me twice as much time to accomplish the task because, in a sense, I tried cheating. And we could do, just simple small engine repair, okay? Now, I can remember when I first started working on stuff, I would look at it and say, okay, it's got to be this or it's got to be this. Because when I was younger on the farm and stuff, I didn't have any processy to follow as far as when it came to fixing my own tractors and equipment. It all came from experience. What do we say? With time, you get experience. With experience, you get wisdom, right? That's why us old people are wise. I'm just kidding. But it follows that logic, of where you think it's one thing and you spend half the day working on that and it ends up being something totally different. And it wasn't even what it was that you were working on that was the issue. And we can simply go back to just yesterday's video on the MS-170 that a customer owns. Now, you have to have a process, a set of steps that you do. And there's got to be certain tests in there that you accomplish as you go. And you can't jump ahead. Now, on the MS-170, it started, and the minute I went to throttle it, when the customer dropped it off, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, it's starving for fuel, carburetor, probably the jets, a little bit of dirt on them. I'll just take them out. If it's a serviceable carburetor, if not, I've got another one right there at the shop. So it even surprised me when I threw the compression tester on it and it threw such a low number, because I pretty much had figured it's got to be the carburetor, right? It's got to be starving for fuel, or a carburetor or a spark plug breaking down, something not just right. But that's why we have steps. Now, had I not done the compression test first and I jumped to it's got to be fuel related, so I dumped the fuel out, put fresh fuel in it, take the carburetor off, tear it down, get it all clean, put it all back together, get everything all back together. Now you're talking about an hour and a half, right? But for the hour and a half that I spent doing that, had I followed a process, a set of steps that you need to develop when you're working on any engine, is had I done the compression check first, like I did, but I'm just saying if I bypassed a step, which would bypass the compression step, I would have wasted an hour and a half on something that took me less than 15 minutes to find out for myself. And with doing the video yesterday, I decided I'd do a short on it as well, so that a lot of people out there would think like I do. If they didn't have a compression tester, if they didn't have a compression tester, they would jump to starter for fuel, carburetor, bad fuel, maybe a little bit of water in the gas, something like that, right? So you got to have the proper tools, and then you also have to have the process. Now, the tools you use is important. Now, Harbor Freight does not make the best compression tester out there, okay? And Claude, when he was working on automobiles for dealerships and stuff, and even my son, they had all snap-on. My son's got all snap-on. But that snap-on compression tester is going to give me the same reading that the Harbor Freight did. And that is no compression. So in life, we have processes that we have to follow. You know, and that goes, you know, in your business and in your private life. Or if you work as an employee for somebody. You know, they have rules set in place for a reason. You know, it's like when I worked in the mill. We had, every day the assistant operator had to make a batch of lime slurry to add to the tailings, the waste that went out, to help break it down. And there was a process. The process simply, you know, and it was written out in steps. Fill the tank with water, 3/4 full with water. Then you start with your lime, and then you start with your agitation, and you let it agitate for so long. You keep testing the temperature and adding lime as you go, because when lime hits water and you're stirring it, she will start to get hot. So they had developed a process so that they knew how to get to a certain pH level, all right, that they wanted to treat the water that had gone through the mill, you know, that had so many different other chemicals in it that it neutralized them before it went out, so it made it safe to drink, you know, basically. But if you didn't do it right, you would end up with the system plugging. I can remember an assistant operator that thought they knew it all and didn't pay any attention to following any set of rules. They had their own, I guess. And we spent more time when I was a utility going over there and basically bailing their ass out and having to get in there and drain the whole system, take the pipes all apart, clear the plug section that should never happen. All because somebody decided that I don't need to follow a set of steps that are in place. I'm going to do it my way. And there's nothing wrong with doing it your way if it's correct, right? But if you work for somebody and they have a certain process they want you to follow, then you need to follow that unless you can show them a better process. See, right? And I've done that before when I worked for employers and stuff. I would bring to them, what about doing it this way, guys? Just think about it. I can show you how I do it, but give it some thought, and if it's something that you guys agree on, then we can start doing it that way. It save time, save money, and sometimes they would say outstanding, you know. And other times they say we already tried that error, and it's a good idea, but we could not get it to work the way the system is. So most often the case, if there's a set of rules or a process that's in place, it's a good reason for it, because they've tried a lot of other things that did not work, that they thought would work, and finally have come to something that they can say, all right, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what works, so all we want you to do is replicate that, follow the steps to the letter. All right. And if you're in small engine, I mean, it's just simply like doing always having compression first, right? Well, guys, well, that's a waste of time. The saw started running. It's never a waste of time. You should always find out where that saw is. And if she's running low compression, it could be a number of reasons. One, they don't make them saws like they used to. They're a real light grade saw. Two, they may have run it with straight gas instead of gas oil mixture, which I've seen. Or they may have run a lot more hours than I thought, and it just was tired out. If you're going to buy low-end stuff, then expect not to use it a lot, because they aren't made for a lot of hours. If you're going to go and do a lot of wood cutting and stuff, I always recommend you step up to the pro version versus the homeowners. But if all you're going to do in a year, okay, is maybe 20 to 30 cord of firewood, whether it's dropped in log meats in your yard or if you're going into the woods and cutting it, you'd be all right with the homeowners as long as you take care of it, right? And that means making sure you have the right mixture for fuel for that chainsaw. At the end of the season, get rid of the old gas so it's not sitting in the carburetor. Dump most of the gas out and then just run it until it runs out of gas. And most often the case, when I'm cutting firewood anyways, I'll keep cutting until I run out of fuel, right? And then at the end, when I run out of fuel, I'll either decide to fill it back up and keep going or stop at that point. And then I will, it's just something that I've been doing for years. So if I decided to quit there, I didn't get back to it for a couple months. My saw hasn't got any gas in it because I ran out of fuel on the last cut. So my saw hasn't got any gas in it. I've ran it out on the last time I used it and put it away. And now that I'm pulling it back out months later, I don't have to worry about old fuel in the fuel tank, and I'll just have some freshly mixed up, 50-1 with non-ethanol premium fuel. Pour it in, usually within a couple cranks. She purrs a little bit, and then put her off choke, and she'll fire right up every time. So a lot of it is taking care of your stuff. And I mean, the steps, it just depends upon what you're doing, right? And if you're younger, what I want you to know is that you may not know all the steps, okay? And the reason that you don't know all the steps is you haven't got the experience under your belt to know it, And that's okay. That's expected. And that's how we get better, hopefully, as we get older, is that we gain the experience of what works and what doesn't work, right? We've tried this and we've tried that, and that doesn't work for us. So we go with something that does work and create the steps to do it, right? So, I mean, if you're young and you're trying to figure out steps of how to do it, and you've never encountered it before, that's where a father figure, mentor, somebody that's older that's got experience can explain what the steps are and why the steps are that way. And the sooner you learn how someone that has experience and wisdom is doing it and why they're doing it that way, the quicker you will succeed at whatever you're trying to accomplish. It comes right down to personal life, right down to dating. You got your first girlfriend and stuff. Now, there's still a process there as well. Is you don't just meet someone and say, we need to get married, and go to the justice of the peace or the church and get married without ever dating each other. Because it's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. You have to take time, both of you, to spend time with each other, quality time. And find out what each other's quirks are. And we all have quirks. Everybody's got quirks. And some of the quirks don't come out until after you start living together. See, I'm still old-fashioned, but I'm okay. That you younger kids, when I say up to your 40s, are not getting married, are living together and having kids. You're doing everything that a married couple would do, but other than having the commitment to the marriage through a piece of paper, all right? But a lot of times you have to go through that process of dating to find out if the two of you are compatible. Are there things that she does or he does that just drives you insane? And the big thing is I've heard this so many times from people over the years. Well, I thought that they would change. Why would they change? You knew what they were like when you were dating them. If you go into a relationship overlooking some red flags, thinking you can change that person, you're not going to change that person. Or even worse, try to save that person. That's the worst type of relationship to be in. Because the only one that can save them is themselves. But again, there's another process. There's a set of steps. Everything in life has steps. In business, you don't go out and buy the best truck and the best trailer and the best decal systems and the best mowers, trimmers, blowers to start a lawn care business. Why? Because you've overlooked the biggest step there is, and that is customers. Where are you going to get your customers from? Your customer base is number one. And you got to step back even further than that. And that's why I recommend downloading a business plan and going through the process. Even though you're not looking to get a loan, which I try to tell people, keep as low a debt as possible. But by doing that business plan, it focuses you down even farther. And it helps you develop a plan that will work. And that is, I would tell anyone that wants to get into this type of business to start at small scale. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing repair work, sanitation, garbage, what have you. Start small. build your customer base up while you're working for somebody else, and then use your nights and weekends to get that customer base up. And also take that extra money and set it aside to help the business grow. Okay? And during that time, you can put all your profits back into the business that you're trying to develop. And I would keep it a non-business entity until it got to the point of, okay, I think I can do this full time. And when you get ready to jump, that's when you have to go through another set of steps. And that's all on setting up that business. And you could be working on that in the beginning as well. What's the name of the business? Is it going to be incorporated, LLC, sole proprietor, partner, tax number ID, because you're going to have to collect sales tax for the state. You got to get your EIN number for the federal government, especially if you're going to employ people. Make sure you have the right insurances, and so you got a whole whirlwind of stuff that all cost money. And if you try to do it in the beginning, I'm saying that you haven't got enough revenue coming in yet to cover all these expenses, right? So if I were starting out today, I would do it all on the side, nights and weekends, while employed for somebody else to cover my bills. And I would build the business from scratch, build it up. And along the way, once I get to that certain point of where I can see that this may be feasible to go, full time in it, that's when you need to get everything else in place. So hopefully that's kind of helped you guys, whether it's in life, business, and repairs, and whatever you do in life, there's steps, and there's a reason for the steps. And if you try to cheat and not do one of the steps because you want to get to the end quicker, which in the repair shop, this has happened to us numerous times, of where we're in such a hurry to get the machine in and get the machine out so we can get paid, we overlook the obvious, and that is we've hit it with carb cleaner, so it runs, right? And failed to do a compression test. And then after all that work is done, she's still not running right. And you have good compression on one cylinder and the other you don't on a twin. It's happened more than once because we didn't stick to following the steps. We got in a hurry to try to get the cash back into the business, which in the end cost us more time and money because we put all these new parts and everything into that lawnmower, and the guy's looking at getting a new engine or rebuilding the one he's got. So again, with everything, there's a set of steps, right? And if you're younger and you're trying to develop a set of steps, you need to have some wisdom and experience helping you along the way. Sheba. And that's part of this channel. It's free for the taking. Is the wisdom I have, the experience that I have, and I try to share my failings as well, of where, I got in too big a hurry, or I didn't get in a hurry enough and lost out on something. But my suggestion to you, if you want to get into business or whatever, and you're younger, even older, is watch my videos. I'm giving it away free. There's no strings attached, all right? And I've learned in life, when you get to be my age, you stop telling people how to do stuff, okay? You start giving advice. And advice is take what you can use and leave the rest. If you can take part of a process that I have on any one of my videos and make it your own, but tweak it to a certain way that it's more relatable to you, do it. I encourage it. And I think the more videos you watch when I'm trying to explain things out, the more it'll make sense, right? And if you take parts of 3 or 4 videos and create a process of your own, and you find that it works, I've done my job. Perfect. All right. So on that note, you guys, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments. If you find value with the videos, like YouTube, we'll share it with more people. The more likes we get, and subscribe and share if you could. So on that note, a set of steps. There's a process. We just need to figure out what the process is. Set up a set of steps and then not get into a hurry where we forget the first couple steps and try to jump to the end. That's the way in life, in business, and in the repair shop. On that note, you guys have a great day. We'll catch you here first thing tomorrow morning. Thanks so much for watching.